Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. A quote from the film The Undiscovered Country popped into my head. That's the one where Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, turns to Jim Kirk and says, "Have we become so old that we have outlived our usefulness?" Now, the interesting context is the actor and I and the actor both actors, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, were 59 during that scene. And yes, that's old for an actor back then, that's old for a military command, but it's not old in real life. Not at all. Most people are gearing up for retirement at that quadrant of their life. Whether it be they're going to take more vacation and stay in their job, whether they're going to, you know, go home and build, Lego sets, whatever the hell they want to do with their life. I'm not judging anybody for what they do when they retire. But I have worked with people that are so old they've outlived their usefulness in their 70s. And that was within 10 years of that quote being said. No, we have things very messed up in terms of ages. Let's avoid the people that like to hang around locker rooms, but LARPers, furries, all Dungeons and Dragons people, all these skew towards older and older demographics. And people are finding meaning through exploring interpersonal connections. Once upon a time, all this was considered immature and child's play, and adults don't do that. No, adults went down to the Lions Club, you know, had a meal, got drunk as hell, and that was where they were at. Not just the Lions Club, not picking on them. You got, Rotary Club, you got the Masons, you got all that sort of thing. It's basically a social club for people to get together. Church groups. Most church groups are just an excuse for a bunch of people to get together and have a good time sharing a common interest. So what's the difference between them and a group of people that gets together of a Thursday night to run a D&D game and enjoy themselves that way? Nothing except certain people's perception. I started playing BattleTech when I was a teenager. That makes me a near 40-year veteran. I started playing Magic when I was in my 20s. That makes me a 30-year veteran. Well, actually, I think it's 32 now. You don't just lose having fun. My best friend came over the other day and brought his son because he wanted me to teach him because I have I have a hell of a lot of experience. Now, my dad looks at those cards and I know real magic. As in, he knows the magic tricks that like Penn and Teller use. And you know what? It's true. My little girl has recently developed an interest in magic tricks, and I'm happy to show her the ones that I know. I didn't like it as much as my father because of the palming. And while I have perfect typist fingers, they're not so good for hiding a coin and stuff like that. Also, given carpal tunnel and arthritis, I don't really want to be using my hands for that. I use it to type my books, which is a far more fulfilling activity than being able to pull a penny from behind somebody's ears. Now, the point of these activities like I said, is to get people together and have fun. Gamers, like video gamers, have their own sense of community. They're always signing up into groups and saying, yeah, we're going to go raiding on Thursday. Even back in the day of Leroy Jenkins and the World of Warcraft people that raided another player's funeral, it was mostly, people above teenage years that were doing this. There were some teenagers mixed in and stuff. I'm not saying, you know, everybody's absolutely older, but that was nearly 20 years ago. And those people are still playing, they're still leveling up, they're still making their lives more enjoyable. Once upon a time, golf and tennis were those sports. They were, I don't want to say available to everyone because both have kind of a history of discriminating against the wrong people. That's not only skin color, that's economic status. And they did that by keeping the prices high so that your average person simply couldn't afford it. I remember when I was young and they built some tennis courts. And we were thinking it would be neat to rent them out. We didn't have any tennis stuff, but there's all sorts of ball games you could do it. And this is probably back in the 80s. And they were like $50 an hour to rent these tennis courts out. Because it was designed that way to keep little idiots like myself and my friends from, throwing a basketball and playing dodgeball or whatever the heck we were going to do as stupid kids. They've been able to do that. Golf course, I find golf marginally fun. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do, but the same token, there's a lot of things I would not want to do compared to it. I would go to golf before I go to a dentist appointment. No offense to any dentists, you perform a valuable service and you work under difficult conditions. But, I'd rather go golfing with friends than go to a dentist appointment. We're lucky enough that there's a local place that for 12 holes it was about $20. And they kept that for the longest time. So they were removing the barriers to their course. And you know what? They made a lot of money. I'm not 100% sure if they're still open or if they still offer their good rates. Because you know what happens? It's harder and harder to get people together. Like I said, my friend came over, played some games, showed his kid. Probably won't happen for another couple weeks, maybe a couple months, because he's got a busy schedule. And this is the thing. I admire these people that make time for what they love to do. A friend of mine had been trying to sync our schedules to have a Battletech little showdown. And just our schedules do funny things. And that's one of the things that are killing these traditional groups is the younger generations still have to go to work. They still have to take care of their kids. They still are involved in the activities that interest them. So blocking off one night a week, every single week to go and have a meal with some people who are friends, some people who are strangers, hopefully they're all nice people, is a big ask. I know somebody that works at the banquet hall, and you can pretty much, Saturday, that person is not getting home till 1:30. You can put your watch to it. They shut everything down at midnight, but they're not home till 1:30. Sunday, oh heck yeah, they could be home anytime from 11 o'clock. Because people know they have to be at work the next day. In the old days, it wasn't like that. People would stay up, they would have that blocked off, and they would be going out drinking double-fistedly well into the night. And the smart ones would have the next day off. Otherwise, they just simply call in. Socializing has advanced, though. It doesn't require alcohol, but it can involve alcohol. It involves a lot more of your imagination. And even the video game groups. They have to use their imagination despite the fact that a video game is a limited environment at present. And I look forward to somebody commenting in 20, 30 years saying, no, it isn't. We're talking 2024. We have open world games, but still, you're still stimulating your mind. If you're socializing in it and you're talking to your group and, oh, let's raid on Vikendi, that should give you a hint which game I like. And even that, there's divides between friends. My friend likes Fortnite. I like PUBG. And I don't really have an interest in going over to Fortnite because it's more about building. I'm more about the strategy. I have more fun playing and learning from people than I really do, putting things together. He's more of a putting things together kind of guy. None of us are going to switch each other to go over. That's just simply not going to happen. But we both have friends in our games that we communicate with. This is partially the result of the pandemic because we weren't allowed to visit each other, and it's partially because it's a natural evolution. If you want a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, your friends all have different schedules. So my wife is off that night, and she's going off with her friends. I gotta look at the kids. Blah blah blah. All this is going to happen. Where you start using Discord, Zoom, things like that. Now you can start. Okay, two people in Seattle. You got one person down in Virginia, and you're in Winnipeg. All of a sudden, you got a group. It has facilitated the idea of being able to get together with like-minded people, just like the social groups of old. And I don't think this can be ignored. You might remember a spectacularly failed innovation called Second Life. Well, Facebook is trying to move towards something similar with Meta. Now, I do like the idea of it. Second Life's major problem, in my opinion, was it was ambitious and aimless. Hopefully, Meta will be a little more freeform because it would be interesting to be able to construct, say, a dungeon and take your friends through it. The game mechanics won't allow it, but you can use other things like Roll D20 and similar systems. And that's the next stage where it's not just you staring at a bunch of your friends on a Zoom screen. And I give credit to those people. Some of them will dress up. Never been on a furry Zoom call or anything. But I imagine, aside from the very muffled noises, because I've worn a few costumes in my life. Being 6'3", everybody wants me to be the mascot. And I know how tough it is to talk in those darn things. But there's ways around it. And more importantly, these people are already forming their groups. So the next killer app is going to be facilitating these ideas. Now, it's going to have to be absolutely brain dead to use. Maybe something on the order of Minecraft, because you can put blocks in places, and most people can figure out how to build things with blocks. I mean, most of us had Lego as kids. So Lego Universe the thing together. If you want more detail, you could put more detail, but I can tell you as the forever DM, sometimes you just want to have the detail to a minimum. I did a pretty complex puzzle where it had like real moving pieces, and the players had to get in and guess which levers would turn to the next basically dial and let them go back and forth, and which ones they'd have to turn to get into the next one. And a lot of people had a lot of fun. That being said, I'd hate to have to do that on a computer, but on the other hand, it would be fully possible. And I'm looking at the kids today. They're able to do that. It comes instinctively for them, and not just through Minecraft. Minecraft is a developmental tool for the brain. I know one person who built some things in Minecraft that blow my mind, and they've moved on to 3D modeling. See, it's a good thing. And that's why it's so important to use our imaginations. And despite the curmudgeonly ancient guard that we don't want them to die off or anything, but at the same token, we wish their opinions mattered less. While they're sitting there and saying, we don't need this weird, fancy stuff. When they were listening to rock and roll music, which was the devil's music. Yeah, this is true. Anyway, what I'm trying to say basically is we need more time for fun. And yeah, it's as you get older, it's harder to get together with like-minded people. And I really hope you can do that, especially on a weekend, because those old passions, once you rekindle them, people rekindle their passion with you. We'd like to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, because sharing is caring. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you wish, you can click the bell icon because that'll let you know every time that we release a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.